It's pretty much Christmas time. Very exciting. You get all those really cool deals, and even get your yearly Bee Swarm Simulator update. Oh, and also there is Christmas itself. That's, probably more important. Probably. Nah. Joking aside, I hope you all have a great Christmas. Or had a great Christmas. Or are having a great Christmas. There's a huge amount of traditions associated with the period, and especially in the gaming sphere, it is fairly common for timed events to be focused around Christmas. I joked about Bee Swarm Simulator, but it's actually a fairly common trend in a lot of games to have these events. Stuff like Terraria even have special timed events around the time, featuring new enemies and some slightly tweaked mechanics over the period. PvZ2 is no different. Beyond the usual piñata parties they tend to have on, and the extra timed event levels, there are also some plans that are only available during the period. This isn't new. They actually do the same thing for a lot of other events, most notably Halloween. During Christmas, the three plants are Sapfling, Holy Barrier, and Mistletoe. Sap is a fairly strong plant, by the way. You should probably nab that while you can. The other two are premiums, and are both arguably variants on banana, funnily enough. Mistletoe is basically just banana. They just chill things from a shot. It's fairly normal. Sap is one of the best dolls in the game, dealing no damage and having incredible synergy with most plants in the game that aren't Wintermelon. But the third one, well, he's a little different. Actually, that's an understatement. He's probably among the most unique plants in the game. Even back when I started this road, Holly was one of the plants I wanted to talk about, in the original lineup, along with Intensive Carrot. Probably the most influential video I've ever released. But reminiscing is sorta pointless, ain't it? Let's get into this proper. What on earth is up with Holy Barrier? Holy Barrier is based on holly trees, which I had to look up, as I have literally never thought about how holly grows. Anyways, apparently it's an incredibly Christian plant, rather than associated with festivities, so Holy Barrier is probably a Christian. This is the crucial PvZ lore you all come here to see and expect from your classic Creeps video, and I am glad to deliver. This is fairly random, but the internal name for Holy Barrier is actually Holy Knight. This isn't the only strange name. Infinite is called Hollow Knight, and Rhodobaga is called X-Shot internally. But in this case, it does seem like an alternate name. Maybe the Holly they were originally going to call it a Holy Knight, based on Holy Knight, but I have no real care for it. It's a name. We can do better than a name. Oh, and the projectiles scream as they hurl themselves towards the ground. They are happy, truly. I think Alive Projectiles is the name of the game at this point. This seems to be a bit of a running theme. You have to send these projectiles manually, by tapping on it, then launching a projectile anywhere on screen, like Mistletoe and Banana Launcher. Unlike those, though, it doesn't have a projectile cooldown. Instead, it has an entirely unique ammo mechanic. Holy Barrier starts with 3 shots. Each shot can only be used once, but there is very little cooldown between each shot. The point is entirely pointless. It's entirely pointless. However, these shots will never regenerate normally. You can tell the amount of shots he has left by the amount of berries he has left, which is a pretty convenient visual indicator. Each shot has a 3x3 splash, unlike Banana Launcher, and will do damage in the full 3x3 area, unlike Mistletoe, which just chills in the area. The damage is very minimal, though, being a measly 50 damage at level 1, which is slightly more than a single pair of shots from Peter. This is mostly because these shots instead have a knockback, knocking all the zombies in the 3x3 area it hits back a tile. It will also leave a leaf in that space, which has its own properties, if the space isn't already taken. Each leaf has about 1.5k HP, which is even lower than an Infinite, though it is only half of Endurance HP, which is probably the most upsetting fact I have learned today. Anyways, this comparison is made as these leaves will act like Endurian, with I believe the same DPS too. These are pretty useful as walls, dealing decent damage overall, and acting as a little bit of stall, more relevant due to the KB it offers alongside it. Also, it counts as a tall nut, meaning it can block flying zombies. Holy Barrier itself doesn't do this, so it's just a weird thing, I guess. It's probably not an oversight, but it's weird. Holy Barrier itself also acts as Endurian, having the same amount of damage and health as it, which is surprising to me. With its cost and recharge, you can honestly consider Holy Barrier a better Endurian. Costing 50 more sun, in exchange for having an additional free shots that can work as alternate endurance. It's a pretty good deal. There are indeed two ways to regenerate these free shots. The first is using plant food, which I will further discuss later, and the other is intensive carrot. When revived, Holly will gain all its shots back in tremendous, yet disappointing to me, fashion. Intensive carrot Carl is probably hyped with this information, and this upsets me dearly. Anyways, this is an option if you are desperate to make intensive carrot do something, but as I am frankly personally not interested in the plant, this isn't as strong as it may seem. Intensive carrot costs 100 sun, so you would be making 50 sun profit, but its recharge is 33% longer than Holy Barriers, which isn't fantastic, and you would be left with a wall at half HP, though you can still definitely make it work if you want. The synergy just isn't as strong as it may first appear. Anyways, Holy Barriers plant food is very effective and very worth using. It will launch 4 berries at semi-random tiles, usually hitting something, and these will become very strong barriers if they hit an empty tile. These barriers have 2.5k HP, slightly less than Endurian, but also have twice the damage as normal leaves, which is frankly quite insane. These can do a lot of damage each, and their plant food shots themselves will do a lot more damage, enough to kill a basic zombie, and on top of all that, it will regenerate all its fired shots. Very damn worthwhile, and I will say it is among the stronger plant food effects in the game. Now that this complicated stuff is now sorted, let's cover the usage of Holy Barrier, because it's fairly unique and interesting, and that's something I will always appreciate, as you probably know already. Holy Barrier is a wall that spawns walls, and as a result, is a plant you should use exactly as that implies. It's a plant that specializes in spamming weak plants everywhere, grouping zombies up, and trimming them the entire time. It's a support plant, so you should be using it as such, though you can make an argument for its plant food being the DPS, and I can't exactly complain, as it is a lot more devastating than you'd expect. Place Holy Barrier in the front, and use its shots often. Holy Barrier is incredibly cheap, so each individual shot isn't too valuable, and won't lose you the game if wasted. However, constantly using these shots will overall put you in a far better position. Death by 1,000 paper cuts sort of deal. Except without a paper cut, and it being a total support thing. Yeah, perfect. Its cheap cost also just makes things interesting. It's the cheapest manual plan in the game, bar escape route I guess, and so it plays entirely differently to every other plan in the game, which I appreciate immensely. It pushes it to be more available early game, instead of mid to late as pretty much every other manual plant. Either way, managing the shots in a high-speed game is a very fun time. I really do appreciate it, though admittedly it's on the stronger side of plants in terms of power. Either way, the way its shots work themselves is pretty interesting. They help delay the zombies' approach, and with a plant 2 spawning an additional 4, they can do some really good job at slowing down the overall horde, which is a fairly unique thing for a plant. As a support plant, you need to be bringing something with it to spread the damage. Holy Barrier's damage is, frankly, abysmal, and so you need to be bringing a damage dealer to help out. I don't recommend running cheap plants with it, so you do need to be bringing late game support. Plants like Coconut Cannon or Peapod come to mind. Its plant food can also do the job if you play well, though. Use the shots to keep the zombies back, while allowing waves to clog up all the zombies, so plant food can fire at a clumped up group of zombies and likely kill most of them. It's pretty neat and important, but not mandatory. You could easily just run another plant alongside Holly and you'll be fine. Before we move on, there are 2 things you can do, but I don't recommend. The first is relating to Bloather. Bloather has the ability to instantly kill any airborne zombie, and this includes when zombies end up in the air for a second, which, obviously, knockback does, and so enemies knocked back by Holy Barrier will be instantly killed by this. This is obviously busted beyond belief, and I don't think it's at all fun to use or watch, so I don't recommend it. But if you are bored, just use it. I'm like your dad, I have bigger things to care about than someone on the internet using the funny blow plant. The second is a bug that I almost forgot to talk about when writing the script, but is dumb and funny enough that I need to bring it up. I talked about intensive carrot before, and how its synergy is questionable at best. Well, that's because you're reviving Holy Barrier itself. If you instead revive the leaves, well, shenanigans occur. For some code-based reason, this will cause the leaves to get a buff to the damage. How much of a buff? Well, I'm pretty sure it goes from 20 to 9 quintillion, 223 quadrillion, 372 trillion, 36 billion, 854 million, 775,808. A number so big, but I legitimately had to write down how to say it in the script, and had to copy and paste it from a website which told me how to say it. I have no clue why this question exists, but whatever, it's funny. Considering the tankiest zombies in the game don't go above 50k HP, this is obviously broken and dumb, so if you have a plant, you can abuse the heck out of this. It's just a fairly boring synergy. It will kill basically everything it hits instantly, so there's not a whole lot of skill to using it, but it's funny enough that I thought I'd bring it up here. Anyways, now that the shenanigans stage is over, let's talk about something that Holy Barrier does well. To me, it's a good example of a frequent modern plant design fault being used well, and I think this is neat, so shall we? There's a few plants in Plant vs Zombies 2 I believe don't have a great array of traits, often having too many abilities, and those abilities not working well with each other. Draftadil, for instance, can randomly instantly kill a subset of zombies when it hits them. However, it also slows all of those zombies down by 50% constantly, and stuns any target that it fails to instantly kill, making them less likely to hit the second time. These abilities don't work well with each other, as it's trying to be both a staller and an instant killer for the same set of zombies. I've said this before, but this is why I personally do not like a lot of newer plants, as they have traits that do not mesh well together. Other newer plants I don't like include stuff like Mega Gatling, as they have traits that feel fairly necessary. Or, well, trait in this case. Mega Gatling can randomly plant food itself when it fires, and this trait feels wholly unnecessary, unpredictable, and the plant can work just fine without it. It doesn't impact how you use the plant, it's just a way to make Gatling Pea usable in Arena without making the plant actually viable in Arena, if that makes any sense. Holy Barrier may seem to have the same issue, but I honestly don't think it does, because its abilities are fundamentally super different. Extremely so, in fact. While it does have a lot of traits, they all fundamentally change how you use the plant. All of them are important. All of them synergize with each other. This is a huge deal, and a relative rarity for plants. Most of my favorite plants are fairly simple, as it's quite hard to make a plant that does a lot while still focusing on a single idea and gameplay style. But how does Holly do this? Holly has 4 main gimmicks. Firstly, his Walking capability, secondly his ammo mechanic, thirdly his projectile gimmick, and finally the knockback it provides. This is a lot for a plant, and often a plant would be a lot simpler. However, all of this is relevant, important, and crucial for the plant to play the way it does, and they do work well together. Walls' purpose is to stall, to hold zombies back. They work at their best with stalling support, as they can help preserve the HP for when it needs to be used. Keeping walls alive is a big part of using them, and so them offering some stall in any capacity is pretty important and self-synergetic. This is actually a key part of using walls anyways, and so naturally it works well in this plant. This also compensates for summoning the walls themselves too. Wall plants also don't really like being placed near the front. This is because they are moved quickly up there, and they'd rather be closer so they don't waste HP on weak targets. This is mitigated by Holy Barrier's leaves actually being as weak as they are. No, really. With you getting free, they are individually a lot less valuable, and you can keep a bigger wall close to where they should be. They are fairly expendable, and with their knockback, they can actually keep zombies off of that little longer when placed, which makes placing them in the front even less of an issue. The ammo mechanic doesn't make this element stronger, but does fit the job better as a staller, and helps get the leaves on the field earlier on. It makes the plant more early game oriented, which walls tend to shine at better, often. Of course, costing 150 sun, this plant straight up costs less than Repeater. Needless to say, an early game focus is very understandable, and the shots work well this way. It also does slightly overcompensate for a very important detail that walls tend to often fail at: weak plant food effects. Having ammo that recharges when you use plant food is a seriously incredible usage of a plant food, which walls notoriously have a hard time making valuable usually. It offers a way to make a plant food more valuable, and the charging of ammo is pretty helpful too. In this way, all of Holly's elements work together to create a new plant, and a great one at that. Holly Barrier is one of my favourites to use, and it's honestly been a while since I've had a good chance to use it, but hey, Christmas is a great time to do it, ain't it? So yeah, plan's pretty good. That's all I can say, I guess. It's the perfect gift planned for, someone. I don't know anymore. My brain is seriously fried. All this is to say that Holly Barrier is a pretty neat plant, and it seems kind of unappreciated. Not necessarily in mods though. It's an incredibly common plant there, and its complexity honestly means that no matter how you cut it, it'll always be super unique. I talk about these more, but honestly modded Holly Barrier is so radically different to base game Holly Barrier in basically every instance that it doesn't make much sense to. Still, if you are ever playing a PvZ mod, Holly Barrier is probably awesome and going to do some cool stuff, so make sure you don't ignore it. However, I still think that the base game Holly Barrier is super neat and worth trying out. There's a lot of super neat stuff that not a whole lot of plants actually can replicate, and it's just generally fun. But making this video has made me realise that Holly Barrier is also probably the buggiest plant in the entire game. Seriously, every time I look back in footage, I found some bug I either totally forgot existed, or just was there. Then again, Great Buster can make tents immortal. This game is just like this sometimes. Merry Christmas, PopCap, I guess. Speaking of Christmas, that's coming up soon. Again, have a merry one. Due to the time, I'll be doing some easier to make videos over the next few weeks, as, you know, Christmas is fairly important to everyone, after all. Not necessarily shorter videos, mind, I have some plans, but they will be lighter on load for me, so stick around for that. Otherwise, I should call this stops here. Hope you enjoyed the video. You should definitely subscribe for me, as it is the perfect Christmas gift you can give me. Yeah, nailed it. This has been Creeps, and have a good one.